Welcome, I'm Morrison, and this is the Santa Fe Report video blog. I'm back in the desert again today outside of Santa Fe, New Mexico. Behind me you can see the Sangre de Cristo Mountains, and if you look at the ridgeline, what looks like billowy clouds up there is actually smoke from a wildfire at Tres Lagunas. But I'm here today to ask you a question. What would a guy with a good job, a comfortable home, and a lot of friends in a large metropolitan area, why would that person move 3/4 of the way across the country to a place he'd never been before, to a place where he knew no one and had no way of making a living? Why would somebody do that? I guess more specifically, why would I do that? I was asking myself that question, and I really didn't know the answer at one point. But there was one thing that I did know for sure, and that was that I was supposed to be in Santa Fe. Almost 2 years ago, I was sitting in a Starbucks in Fairfax, Virginia, visiting with a friend, and she mentioned to me that her and her partner were planning to move to Santa Fe, New Mexico. And I thought that was interesting and cool, and I didn't know anything about Santa Fe. I'd never been here before. I'd never even been to New Mexico before. But after that meeting, Santa Fe kept popping up for me. It's not like it was a top of mind all the time thing, but frequently I would think about Santa Fe, and I'd even fantasize a little bit about, what it might be like here, and I would get online and look at pictures of the plaza and some of the historical places in Santa Fe. And I checked out the information on the environment and, what's it like here in the winter, things like that. And I wasn't really sure why I was doing it, because it wasn't like I was planning to move here. But this kept popping up and up over the course of a year or so. And in July of 2012, I decided that I was going to go to a seminar in Las Vegas, Nevada. So I flew out to Las Vegas, and I thought, Santa Fe really isn't in the neighborhood, but at least it's in the same desert. So I checked it out and I determined that it was 10.5-hour drive. And I thought, I'm going to take a few extra days of vacation time and go over to Santa Fe and see what this is all about. Why has it been on my mind so much over the course of the next year? Well, I arrived in Santa Fe and I drove right through the city. Santa Fe is really a big town. It's approximately 70,000 people. But I drove right through Santa Fe before I even realized that I'd driven right through Santa Fe. And I pulled off onto an exit on the side of the interstate. And a car pulled up in front of me. And a lady hopped out and she asked me if I knew where some business was in Santa Fe. And I said, I'm sorry, ma'am, but I don't even know where I am right now. I can't help you. So she thanked me and she started to go back to her car, and then she stopped and she turned around and she walked back to my window and she said to me, "New Mexico truly is the land of enchantment. If your mind is open, you will find your answers." Huh? Who says that to somebody? It was just the strangest thing. So I spent about 3.5 days here, and I saw the historic sites and looked around the city and met a lot of interesting and sometimes quirky people. And I really liked it, but I had no conscious intention of moving here. I thought it was a cool place, didn't really understand why it had been really calling to me. I don't think that's an exaggeration. So I went back to Las Vegas, Nevada, hopped on a plane the next day, and my flight back to DC took me by way of Los Angeles. And after a short layover in Los Angeles, we were in the air, probably about 45 minutes or so. And I was looking down on this brown landscape below me. It was mountainous and kind of desolate looking, no green foliage to speak of. And before I even realized what I had said, and it startled me, I said, "That's home." And then I realized what I'd said, and I thought, what the heck is going on here? I've never lived in the desert before. I grew up on the plains. I lived on the East Coast in Virginia, where it's lush and green and trees all over the place. The desert was not in my purview. And yet, something was drawing me to it even more. The next interesting thing that happened was when we were on our descent into Dulles Airport. And generally, when we were coming into Dulles, into that last leg of the flight, I would have this feeling of, I'm home. You know, I get to sleep in my own bed and in my own space and all that sort of stuff. But interestingly enough, that feeling of being home was absent this time. It did not feel like I was coming home. I got into Dulles late on a Saturday night and flashed forward a day and a half later to Monday morning. And I knew that I had to move to Santa Fe. I didn't know why, but I knew that I belonged here. I made a conscious decision that I was going to move to Santa Fe, and I was going to do it as soon as possible. So I quit my job. I started packing my stuff. I got rid of a lot of stuff. I sold it, I gave it away, because it was very apparent to me that I needed to make my move a light trip. Now, on that Monday, when I made the decision to move to Santa Fe, I was really excited. I knew that I was supposed to be here. I didn't know why, but I knew that I was supposed to be here, and I knew that there was something or some things here for me. So I left the house. I left the job. I left all my friends. And I had many, many wonderful friends in Northern Virginia. It wasn't an easy thing to do, but I knew that I needed to move to New Mexico. Later that day, I went into a huge amount of fear. I'm thinking to myself, what the hell am I doing? I'm leaving all of this. I'm moving 3/4 of the way across the country to a small city that I don't know. I don't know anyone there, and I haven't got any way to make a living. Rationally speaking, logically speaking, it was just the most idiotic thing to do. And I got frightened. I thought, what am I going to do when I get there? How am I going to make a living? Where am I going to find a place to live? And I went to bed that night. And the next morning I woke up and all the fear was gone. I was totally okay with moving, despite the fact that I was moving to Santa Fe without having anything here to move to. My move from Virginia to Santa Fe went so smoothly. The truck with all my possessions arrived on time. My drive from Virginia here was just a wonderful experience. And I lived in a Super 8 motel for approximately 3 weeks. And that was absolutely fine too. And in that time, I found a house to rent. I found someone to share the house with me. I started taking art lessons, which is something I'd never done before. And life just felt wonderful, and it felt like I was in absolute flow. That's all I'm going to tell you for today, folks. Thank you for being here. Thank you for watching. I hope you'll come back again. I'm Norm Morrison, and this is the Santa Fe Report.